Help give kids an extra life by donating today to help sick and injured children. Link in the description and pinned comment below. Okay, so a little background here. I actually pitched this idea back to my partner back in 2019, but then this thing called life kept happening and we had to keep pushing it back and...
So, Pokémon.
Yeah, Pokémon. Regardless of the direction you think Pokémon is headed, it's hard to deny. It's been around for a long time. So long, in fact, that as of the time we wrote this, we have nearly 900 distinct species. And gimmicks that have been the subject of contention among the fanbase, but yeah, lots of Pokémon.
But of course, with something that has as long-lasting appeal as Pokémon, you're bound to get a little funky and change it up a little. You know that grass hedgehog you love so much? Yeah, me too, but now it has wings, and thank God for that! And we're here to celebrate all those times that Pokemon decided just to be a little different.
Sure, Pokemon do evolve, but we're focusing on those variants of the same species that are different enough to be distinct from their bog-standard forms, but enough like them to not take up another number in the Pokedex. In other words, it's gotta be something at least more significant than having another color just because it's from the other side of the map.
So, instead of a hue shift, what are we looking at here? Well, take your pick. Legendary forms, regional variants, Mega Evolutions, Gigantamax, if it's not unknown, it counts, damn it! And in terms of our rankings, while we considered usefulness, how much they differ from the standard forms, and how convenient it is to obtain these forms, it all boils down to this stupid-ass concept called opinions. Listen, I couldn't help it.
So let's start off this year with some variety, why don't we? God knows we could use it after last year. If we're gonna make 2021 better, we gotta work for it, and we might as well start now. It's game time! One of the things about unique forms like these is when you have them applied to legendaries and, often more inconveniently, mythicals. Back in the day before advances in the whole internet business, you'd likely have to go to a certain store in a certain time frame, or, Arceus forbid, hope you got lucky in a contest to even obtain a mythical. Now imagine if you had to apply a unique form on top of that. Thankfully, things got easier by the time Hoopa was released. You could just get a code, enter it in your game, and boom, your own little baby imp.
I always thought Hoopa Confined was an okay-ish Pokemon. Yeah, it's your usual mythical fella with good stats and all that, but design-wise, it really didn't do much for me. I don't know, Pokemon that always have that smug look on their face like they're gonna quote racist jokes from 4chan have always had a weird impression on me. But at least Gen 6 started to go all in on the alternate universe idea, so naturally there should be a Pokemon to make that work, and Hoopa does just that. But that's before you give it the prison bottle, and oh Jesus Christ, wow.
You wish for something more from the little guy? You may as well have made a wish on a monkey's paw because for 3 days, you've got a genuine monster on your hands. Hoopa Unbound is honestly one of the most drastic changes we've ever seen from a Pokemon from appearance alone. One moment you have a snarky looking little spirit the size of Iago, and the next minute you have Jafar opening portals to other worlds and unleashing mayhem. The change in type from Psychic Ghost to Psychic Dark definitely says something. The thing is downright evil. Even gains an evil signature move in Hyperspace Fury.
Oh no, it's not that evil, it's way more than just evil. Physical Dark type 100 base power move that hits through protecting moves, removes the effects of said moves, and ignores the accuracy check to always hit. And on Hoopa, freaking Unbound's monstrous attack stat, good God, Game Freak! That said, it's at the bottom of the list for a few reasons. It is still hard as hell to obtain a mythical Pokemon, so it's unlikely you've actually been able to use this beast's power for yourself. Not to mention, Hoopa Unbound can only stay unbound for so long, 3 days or a PC daycare deposit at that. Also, do you know what Hoopa Unbound strength implies? It can yoink over anything it desires with its 6 ring portals. Dude, that means it can get like 6 Hitlers, and who wants that?
Because every DigitalTy video needs a joke that rightfully dunks on Hitler.
Yeah, because Hitler, if you're watching this from beyond the grave,
you're an asshole!
When it comes to the various gimmicks that Game Freak's been shoving into Pokémon over the last few gens, trust me, we'll get to more of those, I feel like the idea of regional forms is the one that sticks the most, considering that they and Mega Evolutions are the only ones that have lasted more than one gen. It actually makes sense, especially when you compare it to real-life examples. Take the difference between Bengal and Siberian tigers, for example. The idea has also provided us with fresh takes on Pokémon, which, let's be honest, could only benefit from them.
Anyone remember Surfing Pikachu? Don't lie, of course you do, but I'm kinda surprised the Pokemon Company only went so far with it at first. There was the intro to Pokemon Yellow, and you can obtain it with a copy of Pokemon Stadium or Battle Revolution, but that's really it. And it's kind of a shame too, because I for one am into the idea of event-exclusive moves. It makes those specific Pokemon feel just a little more special. And seeing a small yellow rat thing going full Tobirama by just summoning water without a surfboard due to graphical limitations is a hilarious sight. But you know what's funny? Yeah, Pikachu can evolve, in case you forgot. I think Game Freak did for a while there.
At least until they were developing Sun and Moon and the concept of Alolan forms, at which point someone probably remembered that one animation in Pokemon Stadium with Raichu surfing on its tail. So yeah, a region based on Hawaii, a tail that can double as a surfboard, a Pokemon that needed some love considering that it evolved from the chubby cheek face of the franchise, the idea pretty much writes itself. Alolan Raichu was a much appreciated variation on the original, and not simply for its cute appearance. The little guy uses psychic power to ride on its tail. That's actually pretty cool. It's also putting that surfing to use with its unique ability which doubles its speed on electric terrain on top of a cool looking Z move.
Electric Psychic is a pretty nutty type combo too. Sure, it gives Raichu an extra 3 weaknesses, but in terms of raw special attacking power, the two make complete sense to go together. Having access to both Thunderbolt and Psychic with a pretty nice special attack means that Alolan Raichu's not just surfing on its tail, but your grave too. And like, it's just so cute! I want to hug one immediately! This probably only makes sense in my dumb idiot brain, but remember when Kanto Pokemon designs were more, I guess for lack of a better term, edgy and more angular? But over time, Pokemon designs slowly became more rounded and somewhat cuter. I mean, you can argue if that's good or bad or whatever, but I feel like Raichu is the perfect example of that transition, and it's done very well.
Also, it has a rather funny story behind it. While there are probably a lot of contributing factors to how this form came about, the locals like to say it's because it eats a lot of Alolan pancakes.
Pancakes!
Yeah, same bro.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we are gathered here to celebrate one of life's greatest moments, and to cherish the words which shall unite these two in marriage.
What are you doing?
Marriage is the promise between those who are in love, and who trust in that love, who honor each other as individuals, and who choose to spend—
You do realize we're not holding an actual wedding.
I mean, you're right, there is no ceremony, I just wanted some cake.
Yeah, in regards to gimmicks, I don't see Dynamax coming back past Galar. I mean, Mega Evolutions made some already badass Pokemon even more badass, and gave some otherwise worthless Pokemon a much needed boost, and Z-Moves gave us anime cutscenes complete with JoJo poses. Gen 8 gave us Kaiju.
The idea of having your Pokemon go supermassive and duke it out is not only really freaking cool, but it's also really freaking cool for being thematic with Galar's theme of each Major League fight feeling like an actual sport event. But then other Pokemon have special Dynamax forms, Gigantamax, where they get some shiny new dreads and a special G-Max move. And some of the regular Max moves are already busted enough, but y'all didn't need to go as far as making a Steel-type version of Stealth Rocks. But of all the badass Mega Monsters we could have chosen for this list, we decided the best one was a cake.
Alchemy was already a pretty interesting Pokemon as is. When I first saw it, the first thing I thought of was the desserts you'd get at Wimbledon, and the second was a better version of that whipped cream Pokemon from Gen 6. The little buddy also had some strong special stats to back up its move pool. So imagine your strawberries and cream doing the Ultraman rise. Suddenly it's big enough that it could feed the whole damn stadium. In fact, that's what its G-Max finale does, bombarding enemies with berries while giving your allies a treat that heals a sixth of their max HP.
Admittedly, it's not the greatest effect in the world, but it's at least better for it than Max Starfall. Yeah, Misty Terrain is good, preventing non-volatile status conditions is useful no matter who's on the field, but it also halves the damage from a type that can't even hit it. And apparently, Shield's Pokedex entry describes G-Max Finale as a swarm of missiles, each of which is loaded with 100,000 kilocalories? And getting hit by one is apparently euphoric. No, it's diabetes and you will die immediately.
Not to mention its other Pokedex entry says that the cream pouring out of its body hardens in response to physical attacks. Imagine the recipe for that. 2 parts whipping cream, 1 part sugar, some egg whites, and a generous helping of nanomachines, son!
Hey, I'm just gonna shamelessly plug for a sec, okay? Okay, so, I did a top 10 least favorite Pokemon video near Christmas time. Fun moment. Anyways, I briefly talked about how the Pokemon series loves its monkeys, and while that is the case, where do I even begin with the doggies? It's like for every one Monkeymon, there's at least like 3 Dogmons to go with them, and honestly, why not? They're man's best friend, and they're my best friend too. From the technically not legendary, but still classified as a legendary Pokemon Arcanine, to the actual legendaries that are Zacian and Zamazenta, there are loads of iconic Pokemon just from dog species alone. Oh, and one has a special form, and it's on our list too, look at that!
Alola's resident pupper, Rockruff, is an adorable little scamp. Early game rock type, typically very friendly, known to sometimes accidentally scratch their trainers when they nuzzle them. Like I said, adorable. Not only that, but in keeping with Gen 7's theme of celestial bodies, it had 2 unique forms in Sun and Moon. The Midday form, which focused more on being proactive, and the Midnight form, which focused more on taking a hit and sending it right back. Then in an event for the Ultra games, you could get a special Rockruff with the Own Tempo ability. And if you evolved it during a specific hour, you'd be rewarded with a blazing orange wolf with piercing green eyes that gives you the best of both worlds.
Visually speaking, sure, Dusk form Lycanroc isn't all that distinct from the other two, basically just make its midday variant orange and the hairstyle of Midnight, but honestly, it really grew on me over time. I really like the vibrant orange fur on it, as not only does it look really nice, but reflects how orange the sky can be during dusk. Not to say the other two also don't have their real-world similarities, but it's more noticeable, and in my opinion better, here. Dusk Lycanrocs also tend to keep a low profile and are calm, but the moment it's out in battle, dear god run.
Dusk form Lycanroc's attack and speed give it potential as a solid physical sweeper, much like its midday counterpart, but its move pool largely combines aspects from both its midday and midnight forms, meaning you can go full throttle with moves like Accelerock, Stone Edge, and Iron Head, or stand your ground with moves like Counter, Endure, and Reversal, and it's the only form of the 3 that also has Crush Claw as a little bonus thrown in, if you so choose. And if you have a busy schedule, or just weren't able to get your hands on that one special Rockruff, then you can scan the dens in the Isle of Armor. There's a small chance you might find your orange boy there.
Also, you have to give it some serious props for being the Pokemon to give Ash Ketchum his very first Major League victory. I mean, sure, it only took this 10-year-old 20 years to do it, but, better late than never, I guess.
Remember what I said about regional forms sticking around? Yeah, what we saw in Not Hawaii and the Not UK showed us that this was an idea with legs. And Galar in particular took those legs and freaking ran with them. We got regional forms that ended up getting brand spanking new evolutions, the Crown Tundra gave goddamn legendaries Galarian forms, and it also gave us Doug Dimmadome, owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome. No, seriously, that's the impression Galarian Wheezing gave me.
Actually, those are based on power plate chimneys and not technically top hats, Mr. Quarterman.
Stop.
But really, Galarian Wheezing's such a strange concept, but who am I to judge? We had a big wedding cake and an interdimensional genie earlier, so screw it. Let's just turn the explosive floating double meteorite head thing into an environmentally friendly floating double meteorite head thing. All because factories from long ago polluted the air, thus created this transformation. I love how even in Shield's Pokedex, no one's even remotely sure how this happened, but when the puffs of toxic smoke surrounding Wheezing are formed into its facial hair, at this point I can forgive the lack of explanation on that.
But now it feeds on pollution and expels clean air with a fresh pine scent. Seems like a living version of that carbon removal technology some companies are working on IRL, and goodness knows we could use that right about now. While the conversion from polluter to air cleaner doesn't change its raw stats, it's the Mon's other properties that make it unique. For one thing, it becomes the first and currently only Poison Fairy type. While it gains one more type weakness, it does make up for it with a couple strengthened resistances and the immunity to dragon types that other fairy types share.
There's also its move pool to think about. It gets all the usual moves you'd expect a Weezing to have, but the Fairy type also allows for moves like Play Rough, Dazzling Gleam, Misty Terrain, and its signature move, Strange Steam, which hits both opposing Pokemon and has a confusion chance. I also love how they gave it aromatherapy. That was a really cool detail to its moves. But besides that, Galarian Weezing also debuted Neutralizing Gas, which suppresses most ability effects in battle.
You do realize what this means, right?
Oh Christ, what?
They don't have to suck anymore. back to the legendaries. Ever since Gen 3, when the box legendaries became part of the main story instead of simply the lore, the third member of the trio, when there was one, usually didn't get expanded on until the companion games. Zygarde got robbed. Of course, now with the expansion pass for Sword and Shield, I doubt we're gonna have the experience of getting a largely similar game with some different story elements involving the third wheel again anytime soon, which will likely be easier on our wallets, but there have been times when those third and sometimes fourth games added some interesting dishes to the table.
2008, living in the past, I guess now. They probably shot blank. Pokemon Gen 4 was a landmark for the series, and a series that basically keeps out landmarking itself with each new region to explore, but I digress. Tons of new battle innovations, the start of the transition to 3D, a story that began to take itself slightly more seriously, and of course, you can't bring up Gen 4 without talking about one of the most iconic aspects from it, how effing slow the battles were. So instead, let's talk about Pokemon Platinum. Really good game, actually felt playable in certain areas, improved on the story, and made Satan itself more Satan-y.
Ah yes, Giratina. Back in Diamond and Pearl, it was just some six-legged boogeyman, well, boogie ghost dragon thing, that you could find and catch in the back of some random-ass cave. But the Pokédex entries, and even parts of the cave itself, were hinting at something more. Then comes Platinum, and welcome to the Mindfuck Dimension! Yeah, turns out Giratina makes its home in the Pokemon equivalent of Hell, but instead of fire and brimstone, we have a total lack of sense and logic. And Giratina's origin form is creepy as, well, hell. Ditching its dragonic form for a dimensional serpent with wings that almost look like part of the Grim Reaper's cloak.
Very fitting too, because Giratina Origin Form will kill you immediately. Giratina Altered boasts incredible HP and defenses with respectable attacking power and speed. But Origin Form swaps its offensive and defensive stats, taking advantage of its insane move pool you'd expect from a legendary and making it even more powerful. And it's made even more so because in order for Giratina to even switch forms, it needs to hold a Gracious Orb, which doubles the power of Dragon and Ghost type attacks. And they already get a bonus due to same typing, so those Dragon Claws, Shadow Claws, Draco Meteors, Shadow Forces, stop! That said, the big drawback is that it has to be holding this item, and its strength boost is limited to those two types, but the sheer power difference alone is more than worth it.
So, we got a ghostly dragon of death that turns into a ghostly serpent of death when it holds an item that already powers up its already strong moves? Yeah, that's a real ray of sunshine right there!
Thanks, Satan.
Hey, so QG, I have a bit of a question for you.
Oh sure, go ahead.
If a mythical Pokemon appears in the story of a later game, does that mean it's been downgraded to a legendary?
So here we are at my personal favorite Pokemon. Deoxys, our resident DN alien, who for a long time was distributed through events, for one of which I lent my copy to a college roommate so I could get it. That is until... woke it up in the Delta episode of ORAS for everyone who had the game to catch for their own. So now this extra as hell extraterrestrial is easier to get than ever and... not bring into Sword and Shield, but I digress. So the thing with Deoxys being essentially an embodiment of genetic code is that it can mutate into its four unique forms: normal, attack, defense, and speed when you take it to these meteors.
To be honest, you can't really talk about special Pokemon forms without bringing up Deoxys, and deciding which one was actually really easy, but still gotta run these forms down. Deoxys' normal form is the poster form of the bunch, but by virtue of it being the default form, it was disqualified. Deoxys' defense is, and you better sit down for this one, the bulky one.
You can't be serious!
I mean, yeah, I can take a hit and have some decent support moves, but that's really it. Speed form is, get this now, and try to keep it together please, fast, but that's really all it is. Its other stats aren't bad, but that's all you can really say about them. They're not bad. So all that leaves is the one that can hit really hard, because what else were you expecting?
Deoxys' attack form is the very model of a sweeper. With speed that still outpaces a lot of the field, and both attack stats bordering on invasion level, this mon has the potential to take out opponents so fast it could make its tissue paper defenses irrelevant. I mean, for some battlers, the best defense is a good offense, and holy fuck does DAF have offense! Not only when it comes to stats, but also consider that it can learn moves that hit like a phaser that's been set to Ponage. Each form has some slight differences in their movesets that reflect their style, so aside from Deoxys' signature Psycho Boost, Attack form deals in heavy-hitting moves like Superpower,
Ow.
Zap Cannon,
Yikes.
Hyper Beam,
Jesus.
and Taunt.
Why?
Yeah, I don't get that one either.
And you have to remember that this is a Psychic-type mythical but also legendary Pokemon. The TM set for offensive moves is crazy nuts busted as is, so having it on a 180 attack stats monster is absurdly strong. And it's also funny to think about how it's unintentionally better than normal form in basically most aspects. Don't get me wrong, normal form is really good too, but they both have the same intentions behind their stat spreads, going all in on the offense, but getting a paper cut would kill it immediately. But the thing is, even though normal form does have better bulk, it's still not enough to really tank any hits that matter. So while making attack form's defenses rival a Caterpie of all things sounds bad on paper, it allows for a substantial increase on the stats that matter more for it. And that's both really funny and really depressing.
Okay folks, listen up, because we're about to describe how to ramp up the tension of a Pokemon game in 0.5 A-presses. But an A-press is an A-press, you can't say it's only— Shut up, nitpicky extra nerdy version of me, I'm talking here! So now we're in the top 3, and we're about to cover what we've seen regarded as one of the craziest battles in the entire series. But first, we need to talk about parallel universes. So in the original Sun and Moon, Lusamine is a brain-warped mad mom, your professor's the final boss with one of the grandest championship battle themes in the series, and Necrozma's just some random legendary that shows up in a random encounter after you capture— I feel really sorry for that voice actor's toe.
But Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon is where things get pretty wacky. Now yes, I know these games get trashed on a lot, but I will forever be known as that stupid asshole that likes Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and I refuse to change that! Although, I will agree on one thing, some of the story decisions were a little extra oof. Lusamine's still a psychopath, just not with the same or as good development in the story. The final boss is replaced with another Hal battle, which I kinda like as the callback to the very first champion battle, and Necrozma— Oh, I see, Game Frick. How did we get here? How did this black prismatic Fustercluck turn into this beaming radiant draconic Fustercluck? Why does it have an Omni Boost? Why is it at a higher level than anything on my team? Oh, they're all dead.
There's expecting the sister game to go in with a third legendary, and then there's Level Infinity Epic Super God Plus. Yeah, it turns out that a steady diet of the light of a legendary Pokemon is the ultimate in performance-enhancing drugs. Ultra Necrozma is absolute insanity on the level of Pokemon Stadium Mewtwo. I mean, it was already kinda tough after becoming an Ultra Parasite using Solgalea and Lunala as hosts, but— oh my fucking god! Both attack stats nearing 170, a speed stat of 129, and a BST of 754! Yeah, base stat total. Yeah, never mind the Totem Boost and the Neuroforce ability, which boosts super effective damage by 25%!
Oh, but let's not forget about its bonkers signature Z move. Those moves are already destructive enough, but light that burns the sky suddenly validates any upcoming Dragon Ball references. It's literally a Spirit Bomb made of light! If I may ask again, how did we get here? Wasn't Pokemon at one point all tame and cuddly and rainbows and sunshine and not a place for rapid-fire nukes? We already had a handful of mons that were stronger than God itself, but yeah, sure, let's just make literally every single aspect of this Pokemon and crank up the absurdity of it. Very fitting that one of the only ways to even beat the story fight is by chasing it with toxic strategies, but if you don't have that going in, then kiss your entire ass goodbye.
We've already covered the demonic-based stats and the totem boost that jacks them up even further, but unlike most story fights, trying to win on type advantages alone will only get you a burning hole seared in your very being. During the fight, its moveset is Photon Geyser, Power Gem, Smart Strike, and Dragon Pulse. That type coverage alone can wreck 4 of the 6 types it's weak to, but even if you happen to have Pokemon that aren't weak to those attacks, there's a good chance you could still get wrecked because of those stats. In that respect, Ultra Necrozma's like a pandemic. Convention just ain't happening. Granted, Sword and Shield gave us a boss with even higher base stats than Eternamax Eternatus, but that threat was mitigated by the weapon doggos. Here, you're on your own. Arceus, have mercy on your soul. Back to Mega Evolutions. Like we brought up earlier, this mechanic that got introduced in Gen 6 did give new life to some Pokemon that used to suck, hello Mawile, but even with that, we can't ignore the fact that some of these crazy forms were being given to some popular Pokemon from the very beginning. Hell, the first Pokemon revealed to have a Mega was freaking Mewtwo for crying out loud, followed by Lucario, who was Gen 4's mascot, and Blaziken, who got tons of love in Gen 3. Thing is, with the Megas, you'd normally have to put the Mega Stone on your Pokemon to Mega Evolve it in the first place, so you had to make a choice, even though for some of these Pokemon, the choice was kinda obvious.
Hey, so remember when Arceus was the god of all Pokemon? Remember when it had the highest base stat total and was the creator of the known Pokemon universe? Well, the latter still applies, but dear god, I don't think the Pokemon Company remembered when they invented Mega Evolution with both the X and Y variants of Mega Mewtwo, but things only got out of control with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. In order to make the weather legendaries more relevant to the story, both Groudon and Kyogre were given not Mega Evolutions, but Primal Reversions, which were basically the same thing as Mega Evolutions, but activate the moment they're first sent out in battle. Both these forms are busted, dummy strong, absurd stats with even more absurd abilities that create weather effects unique to those two Pokemon alone. While Primordial Sea's canceling of fire moves is the Pokemon equivalent of putting bottled water in a dishwasher, Desolate Land's canceling of water moves is hellishly beneficial for Groudon. I only go into detail about these two forms to remind you folks at home that it only got stupider from there.
Imagine what would happen if you gathered the Dragon Balls and made a wish to turn Shenron into Super Shenron on the spot. We have got to stop making these Dragon Ball references, oh my god! So yeah, the Delta episode decided to be that guy, and not only give a Mega to the absolute last Pokemon that actually needed one, but made the circumstances for activating it completely busted. Mega Stone? Yeah, it ate the damn thing. And now all you need is an already crazy powerful move that sounds like it should be a Dragon-type move, but is actually Flying-type. That means you have a Mega that can hold an item on top of being a Mega. But it gets better. It also gains a new ability called Delta Stream that creates a weather condition that negates the weaknesses of the Flying type. And that's not even taking into account its beyond godly stat spread. Remember how redonkulous Ultra Necrozma's attack stats are? Yeah, Mega Rayquaza has 180 on both attack stats. So you have a Mega with absurd stats, an ability that negates some of its type weaknesses, a crazy powerful signature move, and it can benefit from items? Yeah, this is so uber, it literally out-ubered Ubers and created its own tier on Smogon.
Imagine that. Too good for a tier designed for Pokemon that are too good for standard play. Admittedly, it's not as special now because just about any Gigantamax Pokemon are stationed there now, along with some other Pokemon having movesets that work in that field of play, but a singular Pokemon being that influential enough to create Ubers too is both amazing and very terrifying. While it may not be our personal favorite special form, any Pokemon that can shatter a Doomsday Asteroid is bound to be pretty iconic to say the least.
And before we move on, we each have our own honorable mentions to bring up. Mine are Mega Gallade, Pikachu Libre, Zygarde Complete Form, Wishy-Washy School Form, and Calyrex Shadow Rider.
And now here's my honorable mentions. Alolan Ninetales, Alolan Muck, Gigantamax Toxtricity, Rotom Wash, and Kyurem Black.
And now let's see what my supporters have to say with this month's patron picks.
Galarian Mr. Mime. I can't believe it's Psychic and Ice, and then he's got a crazy evolved form called Mr. Rhyme. This Pokemon has everything!
I'm going with Gigantamax Orbeetle because I really like the UFO shape he becomes, and sci-fi is just really cool.
Mega Blaziken. It's a really good Mega Evolution with Speed Boost, which makes two-handed axe-wielding heroes from MapleStory blush.
Remember when Pokemon went full shonen anime?
I feel like this might be a little anticlimactic with the Water Frog Ninja that so many people love taking the top spot on a list like this, but come on, can you really blame us? I mean, Greninja was already a powerhouse, so much that it's one of the few starters to have ever had a seat with the legendaries in the Uber's Lounge, given its stats, wide move pool, and its hidden ability Protean, allowing it to become the type of whatever move it used, a power that's now inherited by Galar's long-eared first-round draft pick under a different name. I mean, there's a reason this one bagged Google's Pokemon of the Year award last year. It's another one of these Pokemon that didn't even need a new form to be awesome, but again, Game Freak went and did it anyway. The story of this form, though, started in the X and Y season of the anime.
Oh, it's nothing too out of the ordinary, just casually inventing a mechanic exclusive to the anime, aka the Bond phenomenon, that allows our main character Ash Ketchum and his non-Pika Star Pokemon Greninja to have their own Bond manifest into a brand new form for what I can only assume is to sell more toys. They already gave special treatment to some of Ash's starter Pokemon before in earlier seasons, Charizard and Infernape come to mind, but they take it to a special extreme for this one. It's honestly very weird when you think about it, and like QG said, it feels kind of cheap to do this, but if it isn't the most awesome shit I've literally ever seen in an anime. Ash Greninja steals just about every scene it's in with amazingly choreographed fight scenes. Even though the anime committed the dirty sin of Ash losing the last important Pokemon Link battle, seriously, I don't even follow the anime that much, and still, fuck you for that.
Okay, so that season was really something, but what about in-game? Well, during the lead up to Gen 7, a special demo of the game was released, which would give you a very special Greninja with a very special ability called Battle Bond. Basically, once this Greninja KOs an opponent, you get your very own Bond phenomenon, and boom, instant shonen protagonist. To tie it even closer to the anime, this Greninja originally came with the same moves it used, with the exception of Cut being replaced with Night Slash because, let's face it, who actually uses freaking Cut in battle nowadays? Especially when ride Pokemon were gonna be a thing. So, we've seen how awesome it is in the anime, but how well does it hold up in-game? Well, let's start right about here.
Only its attack, special attack, and speed are affected, but oh my god. Attack? On par with Lucario's, Salaman's, and Metagross's Megas. Speed? Oh, it's only a few points higher than Mewtwo. And a special attack? Oh, it can fire a Hydro Pump that's just a teeny tiny bit stronger than if a Kyogre shot one. No buffs to its defenses, but does it really need them? Regular Greninja's already really good competitively, but Ash Greninja, while not an Ubers, is so damn close to being there that I wouldn't be surprised if one day it did go there. Even though it doesn't gain any new fancy moves or whatever, it can still do anything Greninjas normally can do, but better. Probably the biggest buff Greninja got was that Water Shuriken finally turned into a special move, which is already pretty nuts, but transforming to Ash Greninja actually buffs the power of that move from 15 to 20, and it's a multi-hit move with priority on Ash goddamn Greninja. Let me tell you, I couldn't wait to use this beast when Sword and Shield came out.
Well, that's one way to kick off the 25th anniversary of Pokemon, am I right?
Hey, by the way, Pokemon just recently finished up their second expansion, and I know how much you like doing these funny video things, so don't you have plans for like a top 10 goofiest or most epic Galar Pokemon or something like that?
Well, yeah, that's why I was kind of waiting to do that kind of list after all, just in case something new came up with the DLC. You know, I still kind of like the idea of not having to go through a nearly identical game just for a little extra content.
Ah. Well, I've been DigitalTy, and if you'll excuse me, I have some mourning to do. See ya!
And I'm the Quarter Guy, and until next time, the arcade is closed. And so it came to pass that the valiant Sir Arthur set off to save his beloved princess from the depths of the demon village. He would face the greatest of trials and tribulations, carrying only his courage, his trusty lance, and his boxer shorts. For a hero fears not death, be it one death, or the more likely outcome, 100 deaths. Next time, QG at the arcade, Ghosts and Goblins. It's game time!